Hello, everyone. I'm Nancy Eigelmiller, and I'm the Executive Director of One in Five. And I'm so happy we are going to be with Arlene Herman today, and she is going to be talking to us about what is mindfulness. So I'm going to turn it over to Arlene now, and she is going to lead us through that introduction. Thank you, Arlene.
I'm so happy to be here today. Thank you, Nancy, for inviting me. I just want to tell you a little bit about myself before I begin. I started practicing mindfulness well over 20 years ago. And it wasn't until I retired from a full-time job of leading a social service organization that I really took training for mindfulness more seriously. And I had the blessed experience of going to workshops, silent retreats, and I'm currently taking a 2-year certification in mindfulness teacher training with Tara Brock and Jack Cornfield. And it just brings me such delight to share this wonderful information on mindfulness with you. Because my role as a teacher, as a presenter, is to find a way for you to make the connection to mindfulness. It's your role to say, what is it you can do to improve your overall physical and emotional well-being by incorporating the information and practicing on a regular basis. So let's begin. What is mindfulness? That question comes up often. The more mindfulness is popular, the more people say, well, what is this mindfulness? Is this something that I'm interested in, something I could do? And the answer is complicated because it's not a simple thing to give you that you can say, okay, I get it. But I'm going to try. And one of the ways I'm going to start is with a definition by Jon Kabat-Zinn. Mindfulness is the awareness cultivated by paying attention in a sustained and particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally. And the important words there are being aware when you're paying attention and not judgmentally, and being in the present moment. John was internationally known as a scientist, a writer, a meditation teacher who brought mindfulness into the mainstream of medicine and society. And I recently listened to something that he said on why mindfulness matters and why it might matter to you. He said he's been practicing mindfulness for over 50 years, and he hasn't found anything as powerful, as nurturing, and as illuminating, or he would have stopped practicing. And this is a man who has a PhD from MIT, a very, very bright man. And he found, and he's in his 70s now, that his practice gets richer and richer the more he practices it, and how it influences relationships with his family members, his friends, with nature and the planet. It's an individual gift that you can give yourself. And that's what I have the pleasure of sharing with you today, of how you might use mindfulness to really enrich your relationships, including with yourself and with others. Now, it might be easy to think that being in the present moment is something I could do, but believe it or not, it takes training. It's difficult to be in the present moment. Our mind wanders, we live in the past, we live in the future, we all get lost in our thoughts. Do you know it's estimated that we have about 60,000 thoughts a day, and 95% are the same ones we had yesterday. We're also goal-oriented. We want outcomes. We don't want to just be in the present moment. And we're trained in multitasking, being busy with others. But what mindfulness does, it invites us to become right in the present moment. And it moves us from living on automatic pilot which so many of us practice. So with mindfulness, we begin to slow down. We aren't trying to get anywhere else. We're just in the moment. But as I said, being present takes practice. Think of it as training your brain, just like going to the gym for a workout. When we are practicing mindfulness, we are training our attention to stay in the present moment. This type of training can improve our overall health. But mindfulness is more than just living in the present moment. There's another teacher and great mindfulness expert named Joseph Goldstein. Joseph talks about his black labs, his dogs. He loves his dogs. And he says, well, they aren't lost in the past or thinking about the future. They're right here in the present moment, wagging their tails, excited to see me. But according to Goldstein, they don't look all that mindful. So mindful must mean something more than just being in the present. It's developing the observing power of the mind. Research shows that by paying attention, you can actually change certain behaviors. In a study on smoking cessation, the participants that got mindfulness training were told to go ahead and smoke. And they looked at the researchers like, what? The aim here was for them to quit smoking, and they were telling them to smoke, but in a particular way. Pay attention and see what you're really experiencing when you're smoking. Participants reported that by observing smoking, it didn't seem at all gratifying. It didn't seem at all rewarding. So, when anticipated rewards aren't there, our behavior starts to change because rewards drive behavior. So I want to emphasize that learning to being present in the moment takes practice. And one of the ways to practice is to start a formal meditation practice. Study shows that meditation produces measurable changes in our brain. And these changes can result in stress reduction, improved immune functioning, increased compassion and empathy, and the ability to balance your emotions and improve your overall psychological well-being. Those are some powerful benefits. However, lots of questions come up when we talk about meditation. But what this is, it's based on proven medical and psychological research. Tara Brach, another mindfulness teacher and psychologist, describes meditation as a training of mental attention that awakens us beyond the conditioned mind and habitual thinking and recognizes what is here and now. So, by establishing a formal practice on a regular basis, you're actually training your attention, and it will get you out of that conditioned mind and habitual thinking. Now, a lot of people ask, well, I don't think I can meditate. I can't quiet my mind. It's all over the place. While that is true, there are ways to quiet your mind. You can select an anchor, like a breath, a sound, or body sensations, and return to the anchor every time your mind wanders. And you can start 5 minutes a day. I recently read a quote that suggested just start with one breath at a time. You know, if you don't think you can do something like sitting and not having your mind wander, try just accomplishing one breath at a time in the present moment. Some people say, well, I always fall asleep when I meditate. Well, you know what? That is common in meditation. And some say it may be that you're not getting enough regular sleep. So what we suggest is to pick a time when you are most alert. Recognize you may be in need of sleep. So another common obstacle that many meditators have is having doubts, and that's normal. Learning something new involves a period of doubt. Remind yourself your reason for learning. Go back to ask yourself, what is my intention for even listening to this talk? Go back to those benefits that I mentioned. Is it to reduce stress? Is it to feel healthier? And ask yourself, if you think about the benefits, that's why it's worth sticking to practicing. So there's some approaches that I can give you for practicing your daily sitting meditation. One is attitude. Attitude is everything. Try to shift your thinking from this is something I should do to choosing a practice because you're connecting with your innate capacity for inner peace, for clarity, for love. Let the sincerity of the atmosphere nurture you for whatever your practice takes. There's innate compassion in all of us waiting to be uncovered. Now, remember, there's no one right way to practice. I think the message that I keep hearing from people whom I talk to about learning to meditate is they continuously judge themselves. Even though we say it's non-judgmental, people continuously say, well, I didn't do this right. Give yourself permission for whatever is, and don't judge. Trust yourself. If you're sincere in your intention toward being awake and open-hearted, then in time your practice will carry you to that sense of wholeness and freedom. It does help to have a regular time and space for cultivating a practice. But pick what works for you. Maybe it's in the morning, maybe it's in the afternoon, or in evening. If you sit each day, you may start to experience some of those benefits, especially the one where you feel calmer as you relate to other people. Another suggestion is some people choose a guided meditation. Insight Timer is a great app for guided meditations, and it's free. Now, while we're talking about formal practice, mindfulness practice can occur throughout the day from simple tasks. Let's even think about washing dishes. You're saying, oh, I dread this. But wait a second. Let's practice staying in the present moment, and you might just begin to see the difference. The other times you can practice during the day is when you're having an emotional exchange with someone. And we call that to take time for the mindful pause. Connect to your breath. It's so important because it will set you up to respond instead of react. So when you feel that kind of pressure, that's when you take a mindful pause. So as we come to the conclusion of today's talk, I really want to encourage you to think about starting a mindfulness and meditation practice. And I really want to let you know that the internet is filled with such rich resources that complement and add to so much of what I'm telling you today. And Jon Kabat-Zinn has many talks online that are free on YouTube. Tara Brach has many talks as well. Another name is Jack Kornfield. And you can really begin to expand your knowledge. There's also courses online. Some are free, some are very reasonably priced. So I want to thank you for listening to today's talk and really encourage you to learn more about mindfulness, to begin a practice, because the benefits of reducing your stress, improving your health, and improving your relationships are plentiful. Thank you.